Our planet Earth sits at the heart of our ethos. La Mer, meaning the sea, as the name suggests, hold the sea and Mother Earth at the forefront of its beliefs, and we believe that we have a responsibility to look after our beautiful planet. So here's what we're doing. Every year, 8 million tonnes of plastic enter our oceans on top of the 150 million metric tonnes that currently circulate our marine environment. It is clear that our actions are having a serious impact on our oceans. Plastics consistently make up 60 to 90% of all marine debris. 20% of all plastic waste in the sea comes from marine sources such as nets, ropes and lines. 32% of plastic waste found was cigarette filters, 9% was food packaging, 8% bottle caps and 6% tableware. It escapes from landfill sites, floats down our drains, ends up in the rivers and makes its way to our oceans. A lot of plastic waste is invisible to the naked eye and collects in ocean gyres where marine life feed. Of those, 236,000 tonnes are microplastics, tiny pieces of broken down plastic smaller than your little fingernail. By 2050, there will be more plastic in the oceans than there are fish by weight. Plastic is found in the ocean as far as 11 kilometres deep, meaning that synthetic fibres have contaminated even the most remote places on Earth. Many marine organisms can't distinguish between common plastic items and food. Animals who eat plastic often starve because they can't digest the plastic and it fills their stomachs, preventing them from eating real food. Climate change is the long-term shift in average weather patterns across the world. Since the mid-1800s, humans have contributed to the release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the air. This causes global temperatures to rise, resulting in long-term changes to the climate. In the 11,000 years before the Industrial Revolution, the average temperature across the world was stable at around 14 degrees Celsius. The Industrial Revolution began in the mid-1800s when humans began to burn fossil fuels such as coal, oil and gas for fuel. Burning fossil fuels produces energy but also releases greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous monoxide into the air. Over time, large quantities of these gases have built up in our atmosphere. Once in the atmosphere, greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide form a blanket around the planet. This blanket traps the heat from the sun and causes the Earth to heat up. When greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide build up in the atmosphere, they act like a blanket around the Earth. When sunlight, mostly shortwave radiation, hits this blanket, it passes straight through and continues until it reaches the surface of the planet. The Earth then absorbs this sunlight and emits a different type of light, longer wave infrared radiation, back out to space. As it leaves the atmosphere, the infrared radiation also hits the greenhouse gas blanket. Most of it goes straight through, but some of it is absorbed and goes back down to Earth. This traps the infrared radiation and causes the surface to heat, a process we call the greenhouse effect. It is crucial to understand that the greenhouse effect is critical to life on Earth. Without a blanket of greenhouse gases trapping the heat, the temperature would be bitterly cold and humans would be unable to survive. However, by adding extra greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, humans have created an enhanced greenhouse effect. The greenhouse gas blanket is now thicker and is absorbing more infrared radiation than before. In other words, the greenhouse effect is stronger, and instead of keeping the Earth at a stable temperature, it is causing it to heat up. Another quarter of human-made greenhouse gas emissions comes from agriculture, forestry and other land use. To feed our livestock and ourselves, people have chopped down large areas of the forest and used the land to grow crops. Forests are very good at removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and so cutting down trees allows carbon dioxide to build up in the atmosphere even more. Land can also be used to rear livestock, such as cattle for meat and milk. These animals produce additional gases like methane. They also eat crops that might otherwise have been needed for humans, meaning that even more land is required. As well as fossil fuels, deforestation and land use, aeroplanes and the production of cement also contribute to emissions of carbon dioxide. As we know, Amazon tropical rainforests are famously known as the lungs of the planet Earth because billions of trees absorb tons of carbon dioxide every year and slow down climate change, along with producing 20% of the Earth's oxygen, and thus named the lungs of the Earth. In 2019, the lungs of our Earth were burning. The Amazon rainforest wildfire season saw a year-to-year surge in fires occurring in the Amazon rainforest and Amazon biome within Brazil, Bolivia, Paraguay and Peru during that year's Amazonian tropical dry season. Fires normally occur around the dry season as slash and burn methods are used to clear the forest and to make way for agriculture, livestock, logging and mining, leading to deforestation of the Amazon rainforests. Such activity is generally illegal within these nations, but enforcement of environmental protection can be lax. The increased rates of fire counts in 2019 led to international concern about the fate of the Amazon rainforest, which is the world's largest terrestrial carbon dioxide sink and plays a significant role in mitigating global warming. Protecting those lungs is crucial if we are to defend the planet's biodiversity and fight global warming. But between 1990 and 2015, the world lost 129 million hectares of forest, destroyed by chainsaws, fire and cement. Deforestation is the purposeful clearing of forested land. Throughout history and into modern times, forests have been raised to make space for agriculture and animal grazing and to obtain wood for fuel, manufacturing and construction. Deforestation has greatly altered landscapes around the world. About 2,000 years ago, 80% of Western Europe was forested. Today that figure is around 34%. Palm oil production is said to have been responsible for about 8% of the world's deforestation between 1990 and 2008. This is because forests are burnt to clear areas where people can grow oil palms, even if it's illegal. Burning forests like this destroys the places where plants and wildlife live, meaning that the area has less biodiversity. At 66 million tonnes annually, palm oil is the most commonly produced vegetable oil. Its low world market price and properties that lend themselves to processed foods have led to the food industry to use it in half of all supermarket products. Palm oil can also be found in frozen pizzas, biscuits and margarine, as well as body creams, soap, makeup, candles and detergents. Few people realise that almost half of the palm oil imported into the EU is used as biofuel. Since 2009, the mandatory blending of biofuels into motor vehicle fuels has been a major cause of deforestation. Oil palm plantations currently cover more than 27 million hectares of the Earth's surface. Forests and human settlements have been destroyed and replaced by green deserts containing virtually no biodiversity on an area the size of New Zealand. The warm, humid climate of the tropics offers perfect growth conditions for oil palms. Day after day, huge tracts of rainforest in Southeast Asia, Latin America and Africa are being bulldozed or torched to make room for the more plantations, releasing vast amounts of carbon into our atmosphere. As a consequence, Indonesia, the world's largest producer of palm oil, temporarily surpassed the United States in terms of greenhouse gas emissions in 2015. With their CO2 and methane emissions, palm oil-based biofuels actually have 3 times the climate impact of traditional fossil fuels. Palm oil is not only bad for the climate. As their forest habitat is cleared, endangered species such as the orangutan, Borneo elephant and Sumatran tiger are being pushed closer to extinction. Smallholders and indigenous people who have inhabited and protected the forest for generations are often brutally driven from their land. In Indonesia, more than 700 land conflicts are related to palm oil industry. Human rights violations are everyday occurrences, even on supposedly sustainable and organic plantations. Only 70,000 orangutans still roam the forests of Southeast Asia, yet the EU's biofuel policy is pushing them to the brink of extinction. Every new plantation on Borneo is destroying a further piece of their habitat. As consumers, we are often unaware of the broader picture. If we want to avoid significant increases in the average surface temperature, we must cut greenhouse gas emissions and switch to renewable energy sources. We must also use land more sustainably, and we need to use techniques to remove carbon dioxide from the air. If we continue to burn fossil fuels and cut down forests at the same rate, the planet could warm by more than 4 degrees Celsius by 2100. This warming could fundamentally change life on Earth with potentially drastic consequences. Rising temperatures are causing glaciers and ice sheets to melt, adding more water into the oceans and causing the ocean level to rise. Oceans absorb 90% of the extra heat from global warming. Warmer waters expand, so our oceans are taking up more space. Ocean acidification occurs when the ocean absorbs carbon dioxide and becomes more acidic. It is often called the evil twin of climate change. Climate change is causing many extreme weather events to become more intense and frequent, such as heat waves, droughts, and floods. Climate change can also affect people and ecosystems. For example, coastal cities are at risk from flooding as sea levels continue to rise. High temperatures, extreme weather events, flooding and droughts can damage farmland. This makes it difficult for farmers to grow crops and means that the yield of crops each year is uncertain. Climate change is a stress multiplier. It can take existing problems such as lack of food or shelter and make them worse. This can cause people to fight over resources, food, water and shelter, or to migrate. Rising ocean temperatures, ocean acidification and ocean anoxia, lack of oxygen, are damaging to marine life such as fish and coral reefs. In the future, it is projected that the UK will see warmer and wetter winters, hotter and drier summers, and more frequent and intense weather extremes. The recent IPCC report, made up of 772 scientists who wrote and edited the report, argue that world leaders have only a few years left to reduce carbon emissions, enough to avoid catastrophic warming, which would produce significant sea level rise and large-scale shifts in temperatures that would dramatically disrupt human life and natural ecosystems. Furthermore, it warns that the world is close to missing the chance to limit global warming that has occurred since the Industrial Revolution. So what can we do as a planet? The most crucial step to limit climate change is to make big and rapid reductions in global greenhouse gas emissions. There are many different ways in which this can be done, and governments, businesses, organisations and individuals around the world can contribute. In June 2019, the UK became the world's first major economy to pass a law committing the country to a target of net zero emissions by 2050. In 2015, almost every country in the world signed a document promising to cut down on greenhouse gas emissions. The aim was to limit the average global temperature to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures. If possible, countries pledged to aim for a 1.5 degrees Celsius limit. The more recent IPCC report explains the different impacts between a 1.5 or a 2 degrees Celsius temperature rise. It showed that there are many benefits for people all over the world in limiting temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Large and rapid reductions in global greenhouse gas emissions are needed to meet this goal, however. We have never before had such an awareness as to the damage we are doing to our beautiful planet, and never before have we had such an opportunity to make a difference, and each person can make simple changes that can make such a difference to reduce even our plastic footprint. So when we collect our raw gems from the beaches of the UK, we also collect litter off of the beaches, which we reroute to more sustainable pathway. Likewise, when buying gems and silver and our equipment, we buy from as close to home as we can to reduce the miles it travels to reach us, and any unavoidable packaging is recycled correctly. All of our minute pieces of excess silver are never wasted, however a small is left. It all goes back into the melting pot and the impurities are removed and deliver the quality of silver as advertised and put back into use. Our jewellery comes in cardboard gift boxes, which are not only reusable but are recyclable. Each box comes with either a card or foam insert, depending on the piece you choose, and is hand stamped with our logo, delivering elegant chic in an environmentally friendly way. Cardboard is 100% recyclable and does not cause any wastage. It is organic and is therefore biodegradable. It is manufactured using fibres from trees and plants. The pulp is not only produced from the timber but also by recycling wood chips and shavings, which are byproducts of the sawmills. Some people have started to return the box to us, which has enabled us to repurpose and recycle these boxes sustainably. The impact of foam on our environment is surprisingly low. There are no combustible gases produced in the manufacturing process, and it is actually quite a clean process. In fact, the only impact it has on the environment is the energy required to run the production line. The foam in our packaging is kept to a minimum, but enough to protect and present our pieces to their full potential. At our public events, we offer a discount on our jewellery for people who bring their own bag. However, if you do require a bag, these are made of thick paper, which is not only recyclable, but where possible, we aim to buy from recycled sources. We encourage you to shop local and give space free to small local businesses and our local artists on our board that comes with us to our events. And we encourage you to take a photograph of these and our business card to reduce paper use. We do have paper versions of our business card and flyers, but to date, and we have only just turned 1 year old, we've only handed out around 50 of these, and most people following us have done so by photographing our business cards and following us on social media. All of our boards and our display cabinets are made ourselves or upcycled ourselves from articles we have found second-hand or free. This not only has kept some of our costs down, but has also ensured that we have put discarded items back into use. For our events, we use crates that we not only carry our things in, but we also use for staging for displaying our wares. And we even use our old cardboard boxes too. My friend suggested the Amazon boxes being the most versatile in shape and size and recycling in the process. With our candles, we have taken time to look into the type of wax we use to ensure efficient burning, as clean as we can find, and with as little as possible detrimental impact on the planet. These are all handmade and in glass jars that can be recycled or repurposed. The wax used is soy wax. Soy wax is derived from the soybean and is renewable 100% natural alternative to traditional paraffin, and it has little impact on the environment. Soy wax burns slower than paraffin wax and is non-toxic, and emits virtually no soot, and therefore producing a cleaner burn. We are currently working on our certificate for our artisan soap range too. And there's no palm oil here. So we've shown you what we're doing, but remember, there is no planet B. So what are you doing?
If we never don't know, but something's gotta change.